Thriving in a changing world, mastering strategy skills and innovation. Table of contents. Chapter 1 Understanding the core of the topic. We shall review in details the following subtopics. Defining the fundamental concepts and terminology. Historical evolution and key milestones. Current trends and popular misconceptions. Identifying the core challenges and opportunities. Chapter 2 Theoretical frameworks and models. We shall review in details the following subtopics. Reviewing established theories and paradigms. Comparative analysis of different models. Applying theoretical frameworks to practical scenarios. Limitations and critiques of existing models. Chapter 3 Industry landscape and market dynamics. We shall review in details the following subtopics. Mapping the key players and stakeholders. Analyzing market trends and growth drivers. Understanding regulatory and ethical considerations. Assessing competitive advantages and barriers. Chapter 4 Building foundational skills and knowledge. We shall review in details the following subtopics. Essential technical skills and tools. Critical thinking and problem-solving techniques. Effective communication and presentation skills. Data collection and analysis methods. Chapter 5 Designing effective strategies. We shall review in details the following subtopics. Setting clear objectives and KPIs. Developing actionable roadmaps. Resource allocation and budgeting. 5. For risk assessment and mitigation strategies. Chapter 6 Creative problem solving and innovation. We shall review in details the following subtopics. Techniques for brainstorming and ideation. Applying design thinking principles. Fostering a culture of innovation. Evaluating and selecting innovative solutions. Chapter 7 Technology integration and digital tools. Selecting the right technologies for your needs. Implementing digital platforms and software. Automating processes for efficiency. Ensuring data security and privacy. Chapter 8 Data management and analytics. Collecting and organizing data effectively. Using analytical tools for insights. Visualizing data for stakeholder engagement. Applying predictive analytics and machine learning. Chapter 9 Project planning and execution. We shall review in details the following subtopics. Defining project scope and deliverables. Creating detailed Gantt charts and timelines. Managing teams and responsibilities. Monitoring progress and adjusting plans. Chapter 10 Leadership and team development. We shall review in details the following subtopics. Building high-performing teams. Leadership styles and their applications. Motivating and engaging team members. Conflict resolution and negotiation skills. Chapter 11 Effective communication strategies. We shall review in details the following subtopics. Crafting clear and persuasive messages. Utilizing multiple communication channels. Active listening and feedback techniques. Managing stakeholder expectations. Chapter 12 Change management and adoption. We shall review in details the following subtopics. Preparing for organizational change. Communicating change effectively. Overcoming resistance and barriers. Measuring adoption success. Chapter 13 Quality assurance and control. We shall review in details the following subtopics. Establishing quality standards and metrics. Implementing inspection and testing procedures. Handling non-conformance and corrective actions. Continuous improvement methodologies. Chapter 14 Sustainability and ethical practices. We shall review in details the following subtopics. Integrating sustainability into business processes. Assessing environmental impact. Promoting ethical decision-making. Reporting and transparency standards. Chapter 15 Risk management and crisis preparedness. We shall review in details the following subtopics. Identifying potential risks and vulnerabilities. Developing contingency plans. Implementing crisis response protocols. Post-crisis recovery and learning. Chapter 16 Legal and Regulatory Compliance. Understanding relevant laws and regulations. Developing compliance checklists. Training teams on legal responsibilities. Auditing and reporting compliance. Chapter 17 Marketing, Branding, and Outreach. Defining target audiences and personas. Creating effective marketing campaigns. Building a consistent brand identity. Leveraging social media and digital platforms. Chapter 18 Customer Engagement and Experience. Mapping customer journeys. Implementing feedback and improvement loops. Personalization and customer-centric approaches. Handling complaints and service recovery. Chapter 19 Scaling and Growth Strategies. Identifying opportunities for expansion. Developing scalability models. Managing growing pains and operational challenges. Partnerships and alliances for growth. Chapter 20 Financial Planning and Investment. Budget planning and cost control. Funding options and investor relations. Financial forecasting and modeling. Measuring return on investment. Chapter 21 Personal Development and Resilience. Building emotional intelligence. Time management and productivity hacks. Stress management techniques. Continuous learning and skill building. Chapter 22 Leveraging social networks and community. Building strategic relationships. Engaging with online communities. Collaborating on projects and initiatives. Creating support networks for long-term success. Chapter 23 Emerging Trends and Future Outlook. Identifying disruptive technologies. Forecasting industry evolution. Preparing for future challenges. Innovating for sustainability and longevity. Chapter 24 Case Studies and Real-World Applications. Analyzing successful project implementations. Learning from failures and pitfalls. Extracting best practices. Applying lessons to your context. Chapter 25 Developing a personal action plan. Assessing your current position and goals. Creating a step-by-step roadmap. Setting milestones and accountability measures. Reviewing and adjusting the plan over time. Chapter 1. Understanding the core of the topic. Defining the fundamental concepts and terminology. Defining the fundamental concepts and terminology. When starting to explore any topic, understanding the basic ideas and key terms is like learning the alphabet before reading a book. These core concepts act as the building blocks that help us make sense of more complex ideas later on. For example, in a discussion about technology, words like software, hardware, and programming form the foundation. Knowing what each term means makes it easier to follow discussions, ask good questions, and grasp how different parts fit together. Without a clear grasp of the basics, it's like trying to build a puzzle without knowing what the pieces look like. Fundamental concepts and terminology aren't just fancy words, they are shared markers that let everyone speak the same language. When a group works on a project or studies a subject, they rely on common definitions to avoid misunderstandings. Take the word data, which simply refers to facts or information. Recognizing that helps everyone understand what kind of information is being discussed. Similarly, understanding whether something is a concept, model, or theory can shape how we approach and analyze the subject at hand. Getting familiar with key terms also helps us see patterns and connections more clearly. If we know what input, process, and output mean in a system, it becomes easier to visualize how different parts work together. These ideas act like a map that guides us through more complex topics, making them less intimidating. When we understand the language used to describe processes, actions, or relationships, we can focus more on learning the ideas rather than struggling to decode unfamiliar words. Simple definitions serve as anchors in a sea of information, making learning more manageable. Whether you are reading about science, technology, or social studies, knowing the main terms ensures that you are not lost or confused. It also allows for clearer communication when discussing ideas with others. Ultimately, building a solid grasp of key concepts provides confidence and creates a platform to grow understanding in any area. Focusing on clarity in their definitions helps prevent misconceptions from forming. When a term is vague or misunderstood, it can lead to false assumptions or errors that ripple through learning. For example, confusing accuracy with precision can cause misunderstandings in experiments or data analysis. Keeping definitions simple and direct makes the ideas accessible and reduces chances of miscommunication. As you become more comfortable with basic terms, you'll find it easier to absorb advanced concepts and develop your own insights. Remember, the goal isn't to memorize long lists of complicated words but to get comfortable with what they mean and how they relate to each other. Use real-life examples whenever possible. This makes abstract ideas concrete. For instance, think about how a recipe lists ingredients, words, and instructions, concepts, to create something delicious. This practical approach ensures you're not just learning terms but understanding their purpose and use in everyday life. Having a clear vocabulary around core ideas means you can ask better questions and participate more actively in discussions. It also makes research, reading, and problem-solving easier because you are already familiar with the language used. To develop a solid foundation, start by identifying essential terms in your area of interest, look for simple definitions, and think about how they connect to each other. This active engagement with language transforms abstract concepts into understandable tools. Practical tip: create a personal glossary of key terms as you learn. Write down each term with a short, straightforward definition and an example. Revisiting this list periodically will reinforce your understanding and help you build confidence in using the language of the subject. Over time, this simple habit can make complex ideas feel more approachable and less overwhelming. Historical evolution and key milestones. Historical evolution and key milestones. The origins of this topic trace back many centuries, rooted in the early attempts of humans to make sense of their surroundings. In ancient times, communities relied on simple tools and methods to record information or communicate ideas, laying the groundwork for what would eventually evolve into more sophisticated systems. Early civilizations, such as the Sumerians and Egyptians, developed basic forms of writing and record-keeping to manage trade, history, and religious practices. These early steps were driven by the need to organize society and pass down knowledge across generations. Over time, innovations like the invention of the printing press in the 15th century marked major turning points, enabling faster sharing of information and spreading new ideas more widely. Initially, these early developments were slow and limited by available technology, but they set important foundations. As societies advanced, there was a growing desire to improve communication methods. In the 19th century, new inventions such as the telegraph and the telephone transformed how people shared information, making it possible to transmit messages across longer distances almost instantly. The period also saw the emergence of formal institutions focused on collecting and organizing data, like national archives and libraries. These early efforts laid the groundwork for more complex systems that would develop later, helping to shape the way knowledge and information are handled today. Understanding these roots helps us see the natural progression toward modern systems. They demonstrated a continuous effort to improve how people record, share, and access information. Each breakthrough, from scribes in ancient civilizations to digital data storage, built on prior work and pushed the boundaries further. Recognizing this history reveals how human curiosity and need for communication have driven constant change, from simple carvings and written scripts to complex digital networks. This ongoing evolution has made today's tools familiar, but it's rooted in centuries of human innovation and adaptation. Several key milestones mark significant shifts in how this topic has developed over time. The invention of the printing press by Johannes Gutenberg in the 15th century was a major breakthrough, allowing mass production of books and spreading knowledge rapidly. This event opened the door for broader literacy and access to information, changing society in profound ways. Moving forward, the 19th century inventions like the telegraph and telephone revolutionized communication, making instant messaging over long distances possible and transforming business, diplomacy, and daily life. These advances set the stage for the digital era and the Internet. Perhaps the most recent and influential milestone has been the creation of the World Wide Web in the late 20th century. It transformed how information is accessed and shared, making vast amounts of data available to anyone with an Internet connection. This shift led to the rise of online platforms, social media, and instant communication, changing social and economic structures dramatically. The introduction of smartphones and mobile technology further accelerated this evolution, allowing connection from virtually anywhere. Each of these milestones represents a step toward more immediate, accessible, and interconnected systems of information. Other key moments include the development of data storage technologies, such as floppy disks, CDs, and cloud computing, which increased capacity and accessibility. The shift from paper-based to digital formats made sharing and archiving far more efficient. As technologies advanced, so did the speed and volume of information exchange, shaping everything from personal communication to scientific research. Watching these milestones unfold offers insight into how human ingenuity continuously pushes the limits of what's possible. For young people today, understanding these breakthroughs can help appreciate the speed and scale of current innovations and foster a mindset open to future changes. Each milestone reflects a wider trend, the desire for quicker, broader, and more reliable ways to connect and share knowledge. From early handwritten records to instant digital exchanges, the journey has been marked by incremental innovations and occasional leaps that changed the course of history. Recognizing these moments helps us see how intertwined progress is with human needs and technological opportunities. To stay ahead, it's useful to keep an eye on emerging trends and consider how future inventions might redefine communication once again. Current trends and popular misconceptions. Current trends and popular misconceptions. Right now, a few trends are shaping how young people live, work, and connect with others. The rise of social media challenges, the push toward greater environmental awareness, and new ways of using technology are all influencing daily life. For example, many teens are embracing digital platforms not just for fun but for activism, spreading awareness on issues they care about. The popularity of short-form videos keeps growing, creating new ways to share ideas and express creativity quickly. Understanding these trends is useful because they can impact future career choices, social habits, and personal values. Being aware of what's happening around you helps you make smarter decisions in a world that moves fast, ensuring you're not just following everyone else but understanding why certain changes matter. However, there's a lot of misinformation swirling around these topics. Many believe that trends are just passing fads, or they assume that everything seen online is true. For instance, some think that viral challenges are always safe or that social media stars have perfect lives. Others believe that environmental issues are exaggerated or only for big corporations to handle. These ideas can distort the real story behind these movements, making it harder to tell what is genuine from what is hype. To avoid being misled, it's helpful to look for information from trusted sources, question sensational claims, and remember that online trends often have complex backgrounds. Not everything popular is necessarily meaningful, but that doesn't mean you should dismiss everything either. Critical thinking is the key to separating real issues from quick online trends that don't have lasting value. For young people, staying informed about genuine trends means checking facts and understanding why certain topics gain attention. It's no longer enough to spot something trending and assume it's automatically important. Instead, ask questions about the origins of a trend, who benefits from it, and what its long-term effects could be. For example, if you see a new health product go viral, look for scientific backing before jumping on the bandwagon. If you hear about a social movement, research its goals and the people involved. This habit helps you develop a clearer view of what's real versus what's just noise. Also, keeping an open mind and listening to different perspectives can provide a more complete picture of current issues. By doing this, you can navigate the landscape of trends more confidently and avoid falling for misleading stories or shallow explanations. Identifying the core challenges and opportunities. Identifying the core challenges and opportunities. Looking beyond just identifying problems, understanding these challenges sheds light on opportunities to make meaningful changes. When we see the patterns that link economic insecurity to mental health, for example, it becomes possible to develop programs that support both at once, like offering mental health services alongside financial literacy classes. Recognizing the social media influence prompts efforts to promote healthy online habits or create digital spaces that foster genuine connection instead of superficial comparison. Environmental concerns inspire activism and innovation, paving the way for young people to participate in sustainable projects or push for policy changes. Focused effort on these core issues can also lead to increased awareness, empowering young people to advocate for themselves and their communities. They gain tools to shape their environments and influence decisions that affect their futures, turning challenges into opportunities for growth and leadership. Approaching problems from this perspective makes solutions more targeted and realistic, encouraging proactive steps rather than feeling overwhelmed by the scale of issues. For practical insight, consider that each challenge offers a chance to learn and develop skills. For instance, addressing mental health concerns can lead young individuals to become more resilient and better at managing stress. Engaging in climate activism might inspire new careers or hobbies centered around sustainability. Financial struggles can boost resourcefulness in budgeting and savings, fostering independence. Recognizing these connections encourages a mindset that sees difficulty not just as a barrier but as a call to action, where small steps can build toward larger change. When efforts focus on understanding rather than just fixing problems, solutions become more sustainable and meaningful. Encouraging young people to identify their own unique strengths within these challenges can inspire innovation and resilience. In this way, turning core challenges into opportunities creates a path for growth, helping them develop skills and confidence that will serve beyond immediate issues, shaping healthier, more adaptable individuals ready to face the future. Chapter 2. Theoretical frameworks and models. Reviewing established theories and paradigms. Reviewing established theories and paradigms. Many ideas about how people think, behave, and interact have been shaped by long-standing theories from different fields. These include psychology, sociology, and even economics. Some theories focus on individual choices and mental processes, like how we develop habits or make decisions. Others look at larger groups and societies, such as how cultures influence individuals or how social norms guide behavior. Core principles of these models help us understand complex phenomena by offering frameworks that explain why things happen the way they do. They provide basic ideas that are easy to remember and apply, making them useful tools in solving practical problems or making sense of everyday life. Over the years, these models have grown and changed to stay relevant as society shifts. For example, early psychological theories about personality focused on traits that seemed stable over time. Today, newer models recognize that behavior can be flexible and shaped by context. In the social sciences, traditional ideas about social order and conformity have expanded to include perspectives that emphasize individual agency and diverse viewpoints. As new research emerges, some theories get refined, combined with others, or sometimes replaced entirely when they no longer fit the evidence. These evolutions keep the ideas useful and connected to real-world experiences, encouraging ongoing debates about their accuracy and limits. Applying these classic theories has often led to better understanding and solutions in everyday life. In education, understanding that motivation hinges on recognition of personal goals and social influences helps teachers motivate students. In marketing, models of consumer behavior guide the design of campaigns that influence purchasing decisions. Policymakers rely on social theories to craft laws that promote fairness or community well-being. But some concepts face criticisms, especially when they oversimplify complex human actions. For instance, not all people follow social norms strictly, and many act based on emotional or irrational factors. These disagreements fuel continuing discussions about how best to adapt or develop theories that more accurately reflect the messiness of real life. Recognizing both the strengths and limitations of these models leads to better decisions and more nuanced perspectives on human nature. Comparative analysis of different models. Comparative analysis of different models. When examining different models, it's useful to see how each one approaches understanding and explaining phenomena. Some models focus on simple rules, while others rely on complex interactions or layered structures. For example, a rule-based model might follow clear instructions to produce results, making it easy to interpret but limited in adaptability. In contrast, connectionist models, like neural networks, mimic how human brains process information by creating connections between nodes, allowing them to recognize patterns and learn from data. Decision trees, another popular approach, split choices based on key features, leading to straightforward, transparent reasoning. Each model has its unique way of capturing reality, emphasizing different principles such as simplicity, learning ability, or explainability. Moving beyond their core concepts, it's important to understand what makes each model stand out and where they might fall short. Simpler models excel in situations where clarity and speed are needed but often struggle with capturing complex, real-world interactions. Neural network models can handle intricate patterns, but their black box nature means they can be hard to interpret, making it difficult to explain how decisions are made. Decision trees are easy to follow but may become overly simplified if they are too shallow, missing important subtleties. There are also models based on probability, which excel in situations with uncertainty, but they depend heavily on the accuracy of their initial assumptions. Knowing this helps in choosing the right model for specific problems, especially when balancing performance and interpretability. Practical applications show that each model type suits different scenarios. For instance, rule-based systems are common in expert systems and certain diagnostics where clear rules matter. Neural networks have become dominant in image recognition, speech processing, and tasks involving unstructured data because of their ability to learn complex patterns. Decision trees are favored in business and finance for their ease of understanding, such as in credit scoring or customer segmentation. Probabilistic models find uses in weather forecasting, risk analysis, and scenarios where outcomes are uncertain. The best choice often depends on what a project values most, whether transparency, precision, learning capacity, or speed, and sometimes combining models yields the best results. Picking the right model involves matching its strengths to the specific challenge at hand and being aware of its limitations to avoid unexpected issues. Applying theoretical frameworks to practical scenarios. Applying theoretical frameworks to practical scenarios. Theoretical frameworks are like tools that help us understand why things happen and how people behave in different situations. For young people facing everyday challenges, these frameworks offer ways to interpret their experiences and make sense of their actions. For example, if someone feels anxious about school, a psychological theory might explain how their thoughts and emotions influence their behavior. Using these models encourages us to see problems from multiple angles, which helps in finding ways to address them effectively. When we approach real-world issues with a strong theoretical background, we're better equipped to develop practical solutions that resonate with young individuals' realities. Applying theories in real life involves translating abstract ideas into actions that make sense in contexts young people live through. Take motivation, for example. A behaviorist approach focuses on rewarding positive actions, while a developmental perspective emphasizes growth over time. Suppose a teen struggles with staying committed to a goal. Understanding different theories about motivation helps adults design support strategies that fit the young person's specific needs. These frameworks are useful because they provide a lens to analyze what might be holding someone back or pushing them forward. By linking these ideas to everyday situations, professionals and educators can create more personalized and effective pathways for support. Another key point is that applying theories isn't about rigidly sticking to rules but about adapting ideas to suit each moment. For instance, a youth worker might use social learning theory to help a group of teens learn teamwork through model behavior and shared experiences. Or they might draw on cognitive behavioral models to help someone reframe negative thoughts that affect their confidence. The goal is to understand underlying causes and leverage these insights to guide interactions and decisions. It's about making the framework work in context, respecting the young person's perspective, and adjusting approaches as needed. Using theory in practice becomes an ongoing process of learning and tweaking, based on what unfolds in real situations. On a practical level, this means asking questions rooted in the theory. For example, if a young person shows signs of low self-esteem, a psychologist might explore their beliefs about themselves, based on social cognitive theory. Or, if a teen is acting out in a group, a teacher could analyze how peer influences shape their behavior through social learning principles. This approach turns abstract ideas into concrete steps, like developing specific interventions, creating a supportive environment, or fostering new skills. The key is to see theory as a map, guiding us through the complex terrain of young people's lives, helping us choose the right directions at each turn. When models are used thoughtfully, they can turn insight into effective action, making a real difference when it is most needed. Ultimately, the trick lies in understanding the individual context and blending theoretical insights with genuine empathy. The best application of frameworks happens when they're adapted to meet the needs and strengths of young people, rather than forcing them into a one-size-fits-all model. This flexibility allows support to feel more authentic and relevant. Whether it's applying behavioral techniques to encourage positive habits or using developmental theories to motivate growth, the focus remains on what will work best for each person. Practical application demands attention to detail, patience, and openness to change, turning academic ideas into tools that truly help young people navigate their worlds. Limitations and critiques of existing models. Limitations and critiques of existing models. Many current models tend to simplify the complexities of human behavior and social phenomena. They often rely on assumptions that might not fully capture the richness of real-life situations. For example, some models assume that individuals make decisions purely based on rational thinking, ignoring emotional or impulsive factors. Others overlook the influence of cultural, environmental, or contextual variables that can dramatically alter outcomes. While these models can provide a useful starting point, they sometimes fall short when trying to explain actions in unpredictable or ambiguous settings. One common issue is that models usually focus on a narrow set of variables, ignoring factors outside their scope. This can lead to incomplete or biased results that don't reflect reality. For instance, economic models might predict behavior based on financial incentives but miss social or ethical influences that also guide decision-making. Additionally, many models are based on data from specific populations or contexts, making their findings less applicable elsewhere. This limits their ability to be universally useful, especially when dealing with diverse groups or changing environments. Over time, this can result in models becoming outdated or less relevant, requiring frequent adjustments or entirely new frameworks. Another limitation is that many models lack flexibility to adapt to new information or unexpected developments. They often operate under static assumptions, which can be problematic in dynamic situations. For example, a behavioral model built during a period of stability may not hold during a crisis or upheaval. When circumstances change rapidly, such models can mislead or oversimplify what is happening. Furthermore, models sometimes assume that all relevant variables are measurable and quantifiable, ignoring the challenges of capturing complex human emotions and social interactions. This can lead to an incomplete picture and reduce the practical use of such models in real-world decision-making. Many critics question the fundamental assumptions behind these models, arguing that they often reflect a limited or idealized view of human nature. Some argue that models based on rational choice theory overlook the irrational or emotional aspects that influence people's actions. These critics point out that humans do not always act logically or in their best interest, which can make models built on rationality unreliable. In fields like psychology or sociology, scholars debate whether current models can truly account for the complexity of human motivations and social dynamics. There are also ongoing debates about whether models are too focused on predicting outcomes accurately instead of understanding underlying processes. Some experts believe that models can be misused to justify policies or behaviors simply because they produce desired results, even if they don't fully explain the phenomena. This over-reliance on models can lead to oversimplification and a false sense of certainty. Critics also emphasize that models often ignore power relations, social inequalities, and cultural differences, which are crucial for understanding real-life situations. This gap highlights why continuous refinement and inclusion of diverse perspectives are necessary to keep models relevant and meaningful. Another point of critique is the lack of transparency in how models are built and validated. Often, assumptions, data sources, and calculations are not clearly explained, making it hard for others to assess their reliability. This opacity can lead to misplaced confidence in models, especially when their predictions influence important decisions. Some argue that a more open approach, involving field experts and stakeholders, is needed to improve the robustness and fairness of these tools. As new data and methods emerge, models must be re-evaluated and updated to reflect ongoing knowledge and societal changes. Without this ongoing process, models risk becoming outdated and less useful over time. A practical tip for anyone working with existing models is to treat their results as one piece of the puzzle rather than the final word. Always consider the assumptions and limitations behind the model, and seek out additional insights or data. Combining multiple approaches and perspectives can help build a more complete understanding of complex issues. Remember, models are useful guides but should never replace critical thinking and contextual awareness in decision-making. Chapter 3. Industry landscape and market dynamics. Mapping the key players and stakeholders. Mapping the key players and stakeholders. Understanding the main companies and organizations that shape an industry helps reveal how the market functions and who holds influence. These companies often operate at different levels, from manufacturing and service providers to technology developers and retailers. For example, in the tech sector, companies like Apple, Microsoft, and Google lead the way with their innovation and market reach. Each of these players plays a specific role. Some create new products, others focus on distribution, while some develop platforms that connect users worldwide. Their strategies, growth plans, and partnerships influence the industry's direction and set standards that others follow. Beyond the primary corporations, there are smaller firms that may specialize in niche areas but still impact the overall environment. Startups, for instance, can introduce new ideas or technologies that shake up the status quo. Large firms often acquire or partner with these smaller players to stay ahead or to diversify their offerings. Recognizing these relationships helps build a clearer picture of who is shaping the industry and where new trends might emerge. Also, understanding the regional or local companies providing core services or products can shed light on regional differences within a global market. The position each company holds can differ based on market share, innovation capacity, or influence over regulatory changes. Some companies act as industry leaders, setting the pace for others to follow, while smaller firms might be more agile, testing new concepts that larger companies later adopt or scale. Paying attention to their strategic moves, like new product launches, mergers, or investments, can provide clues about future shifts in the market landscape. Keeping an eye on these companies, including their financial health and long-term plans, offers valuable insight into how the industry could evolve in the coming years. In addition to companies, organized groups like industry associations and consortiums help set standards, influence policies, and advocate for common interests. These bodies often represent collective interests and work to shape regulations or policies that affect the entire sector. Knowing who is involved and how they influence decision-making clarifies the larger forces at play. Overall, mapping these key players helps identify who's driving change and who might be impacted by upcoming developments, making it easier to anticipate trends and opportunities. On the stakeholder side, investors and venture capitalists play a critical role by providing funding that fuels innovation and expansion. Their interests often focus on the growth potential of companies, which can influence the strategic decisions made by those companies. Understanding what investors want, whether rapid growth, profitability, or technological breakthroughs, can reveal potential directions for the market. Similarly, regulatory agencies and government bodies influence how companies develop and operate by setting rules that guide fair competition, protect consumers, and ensure safety standards are met. Community groups and local stakeholders also hold influence, especially when it comes to social and environmental issues. These groups advocate for responsible practices, fair labor conditions, and sustainable development. Their actions can pressure companies to improve or change their strategies, especially if public opinion sways or if legislation is introduced in response to community concerns. Recognizing these diverse interests helps explain how the market balances profit motives with social responsibilities and how companies respond to societal expectations. Stakeholders' actions can have immediate effects on market dynamics. For example, a regulatory change tightening data privacy rules could require companies to modify their services, affecting user experience and revenue streams. Investor confidence might strengthen or falter based on company performance, influencing stock prices or funding availability. Community protests or public campaigns can alter a company's reputation or prompt policy shifts. Being aware of how these actors interact, what their priorities are, and how their actions ripple through the industry offers a practical advantage when analyzing market changes and planning future moves. Analyzing market trends and growth drivers. Analyzing market trends and growth drivers. Looking at recent market activity, certain behaviors and shifts stand out. For example, consumers are increasingly interested in sustainable products and brands that emphasize social responsibility. This change influences how companies develop their offerings and market their brands. Another notable trend is the rise of online shopping, which has transformed the way people buy and access products. Mobile device usage continues to grow, pushing businesses to optimize their digital presence and cater to on-the-go consumers. These patterns reflect a broader shift in preferences, with convenience, authenticity, and purpose-driven choices becoming more important than ever. Across different sectors, technological advances are pushing industries forward at a rapid pace. For instance, the adoption of automation and artificial intelligence is streamlining operations and creating new opportunities for innovation. Consumer data analytics now allow companies to understand purchasing habits more precisely, leading to targeted marketing strategies that hit closer to consumers' interests. Meanwhile, trends like the sharing economy or subscription services are gaining popularity, changing how products and services are consumed. Such patterns reveal a competitive landscape where agility and responsiveness have become key to staying relevant and capturing market share. Monitoring industry averages and market reports helps to identify emerging patterns, but true insight comes from recognizing the underlying forces behind these trends. For example, economic factors, such as shifts in disposable income or employment rates, influence consumer spending power and choices. Global events, like social movements or health crises, can quickly alter demand and supply chains, forcing companies to adapt or risk falling behind. Understanding these macro influences helps explain why certain trends accelerate while others fade. Recognizing these patterns early enables businesses to allocate resources effectively and prepare for changes that could reshape their markets over the next few years. Technological innovation acts as a main engine for market growth. New devices, platforms, or methods of delivering services open up opportunities that didn't exist before. For example, the development of smartphones sparked a wave of app-based services, creating entirely new industries. Automation and data tools make existing processes more efficient, allowing companies to scale faster and serve larger audiences. Innovations don't just improve products, they redefine customer expectations and reshape competitive landscapes. Keeping an eye on technological progress helps businesses stay ahead of the curve and discover new ways to reach their target markets. Shifting demographics also play a major role in shaping market expansion. As population patterns change, so do consumer needs and preferences. Younger generations, such as millennials and Gen Z, tend to prioritize experiences, sustainability, and digital interactions. Meanwhile, an aging population may drive demand for health-related products and services. Understanding these demographic trends helps companies tailor their offerings, marketing strategies, and even locations to align with who is consuming their products. The rise of urban living and multicultural populations further diversifies consumer demands, pushing firms to develop more personalized and inclusive solutions. Regulatory changes can significantly influence industry growth by either opening new opportunities or imposing constraints. When governments introduce new policies, like tax incentives for renewable energy or stricter safety standards, businesses must adapt quickly. In some cases, regulations stimulate innovation by creating clear standards for emerging fields. For example, stricter data privacy laws encourage companies to improve cybersecurity and transparency. Conversely, regulatory hurdles can slow down innovation if compliance becomes too costly or complicated. Recognizing upcoming policy shifts allows companies to plan ahead and position themselves advantageously in the market. Consumer preferences driven by lifestyle shifts and awareness campaigns also serve as growth catalysts. As health consciousness grows, markets for organic food, fitness tech, and wellness services expand. Similarly, demand for ethically sourced products encourages brands to improve their practices and transparency. The influence of social media connects consumers directly with brands, amplifying voices for causes that matter to them. Businesses that understand these motivations can better design products and campaigns that resonate deeply, fueling sustainable growth. Staying attentive to these primary drivers offers a clearer picture of how markets will continue evolving. While technology, demographics, and regulations shape short-term trends, their combined effect determines long-term industry trajectories. Being aware of these forces helps leaders make smarter decisions, from R&D focus to marketing efforts, ensuring their organizations remain competitive amid ongoing changes. A practical step is to regularly review industry reports and listen to customer feedback, keeping perceptions aligned with market realities and opportunities. Understanding regulatory and ethical considerations. Understanding regulatory and ethical considerations. Grasping the rules that govern industries is essential for responsible work and long-term success. Regulations are the formal laws and guidelines set by governments and official bodies that companies must follow. These rules cover everything from safety standards to data privacy, ensuring industries operate fairly and protect the public. For example, healthcare companies must adhere to patient confidentiality laws, while tech firms often follow data protection regulations like GDPR or CCPA. Staying compliant not only prevents legal issues but also builds trust with customers and partners. It's a basic part of doing business that helps maintain order and fairness across sectors. Legal requirements act as the foundation for industry practices, guiding companies on what they can and cannot do. These laws are designed to prevent harm while encouraging innovation, by setting clear boundaries and responsibilities. Companies need to understand which laws apply to their specific operations, whether they're dealing with licensing, taxes, employment, or intellectual property rights. Sometimes, these rules change as new technologies emerge or societal values shift, making ongoing education in legal compliance important. Missing a regulation can lead to fines, reputational damage, or even shutdowns, so understanding and adhering to legal standards remains a top priority. Beyond basic legal compliance, many industries face additional regulations driven by international agreements or industry-specific standards. For example, financial organizations follow strict guidelines to prevent money laundering and fraud. Similarly, manufacturing firms might need to meet environmental standards to reduce pollution. Recognizing and integrating these regulations into daily operations helps businesses stay ahead and avoid costly penalties. Some companies appoint compliance officers or teams to track regulatory updates and ensure that policies stay current. Maintaining this awareness can preserve operational flexibility and foster a reputation for integrity. Balancing innovation with regulation can be challenging. New products or services often push existing laws before regulations catch up, creating a gray area. When this happens, companies must act responsibly by not rushing to market without considering potential legal or safety issues. Engaging with regulators early, for example through consultations or pilot programs, can help shape regulations that support progress while protecting the public. In many cases, companies see the value in working openly with governing bodies. They can influence future rules and establish themselves as leaders committed to responsible growth. Staying informed and proactive is a key part of managing the legal landscape effectively. Ethical guidelines go beyond legal requirements, focusing on what is morally right and fair. These principles serve as a moral compass, guiding choices when laws might not provide clear direction or when conflicts arise. Companies that prioritize ethical behavior often build stronger relationships with customers, employees, and communities. For instance, choosing not to cut corners in product safety or refuse to exploit labor practices demonstrates a commitment to doing what's right. Codes of ethics or corporate social responsibility initiatives serve as frameworks for behavior, helping teams navigate complex decisions confidently. Ethical considerations also help prevent scandals or reputation damage, making them an integral part of strategic planning. Societal values and cultural expectations shape what is seen as acceptable or responsible. Issues like environmental sustainability, equal opportunity, and transparency have become central to many organizations' missions. For example, many companies now aim to reduce their carbon footprint or implement fair wage policies to align with societal standards. Engaging diverse stakeholders, including customers, advocacy groups, and local communities, helps companies understand broader expectations. It's also important to communicate openly about ethical commitments and practice accountability when mistakes happen. Building an ethical culture not only benefits society but fosters loyalty and trust that can sustain a business through changing times. Handling ethical dilemmas often involves weighing competing interests and considering the long-term impact of decisions. Transparency and honesty usually serve as guiding principles, helping companies navigate conflicts of interest or pressure from stakeholders. Sometimes, this means making tough choices, like prioritizing customer safety over short-term profits or choosing sustainability over cost savings. Training employees on ethical standards ensures consistent behavior across teams and prepares them to handle difficult situations properly. Ultimately, an organization's reputation hinges on its integrity, making ethics an ongoing focus rather than a one-time declaration. Fostering a culture of responsibility requires clear policies, leadership example, and open dialogue within organizations. When employees understand the ethical expectations and feel empowered to speak up, problems are caught earlier, and trust is strengthened. Regular reviews of ethical practices and feedback mechanisms help organizations stay aligned with societal norms. Additionally, proactive engagement with ethical issues helps companies anticipate potential risks and address them before they escalate. A reputation built on honesty and fairness not only attracts customers but also helps retain talented staff who value integrity in their workplace. This approach creates a foundation for sustainable growth rooted in responsibility. Practitioners and companies benefit from not only understanding the regulatory environment but actively participating in shaping responsible business practices. Staying informed through industry groups, workshops, and regulatory updates ensures plans are practical and compliant. Turning regulatory challenges into opportunities for leadership and innovation can also set a company apart. For example, adopting eco-friendly manufacturing methods in anticipation of stricter environmental laws can position a business as a responsible industry leader. To be continued.